Okay. So that's live. Which means I need to do that. Ah, shama my bitch. Well, I got it right at least. Don't care. Okay, that's logged in. Hello. There we go. Now that's working. Fabulous. Doop, doop, doop. I think I might need some food. Yeah, I had a salad earlier today. I think I'm gonna need more than just a salad today. There's some extra weapons I need to get rid of. Kuva, tenant, Kuva, tenant, Kuva, 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 tenant, Kuva. Okay. So just Kuva and tenant stuff. Guess I should make that. Doggo. What's up, doggo? Need any more work, doggo? Don't think so. Oh no, it's not bad. What? Yes, that's true. Trample's probably better. I don't mind that. I mean, other than he could have just a bajillion health, but with, you know, pack leader could be fine. Yeah, that's decent. I could go with vicious. No, it's only melee. Yeah, that's worth it. No more.
I went to war for you, took me through hell and back. That's where I'm headed at. I ain't scared to die no more.
Oh. You don't say. It didn't convert the toxin. Well. How interesting. That works. Okay, let's level him up a little bit.
If I may say, operator, your chosen Warframe suits you.
V. Oh, I need to put my thing over there, and I'll join chat.
Everything you encounter, do not relent. The integrity of this experiment relies on you.
Disappointing. Why do you say that, Mudahar? I mean, other than it's a PlayStation. Oh. We don't have a very good team for killing these guys.
A new data conduit is open. Our experiment moves to a new zone. Hunter, you are running out of time. Enter the data conduit. Hunter, the sanctuary will go on without you.
My drink is gone. I think it's going to get a
Hello,
popsicle.
guys and gals, me Mudahar, and I know that there's some doom scrolling today, I'm pretty sure, but ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to talk about something with video games. Now,
Video
you all know I'm a
games.
PlayStation guy. I play on
I'm sorry,
PlayStation
Mudahar.
pretty much, whenever I touch a console. I know that some people are Nintendo people, and, all the power to you. And there's some people that play on Xbox. But for me, most of my gaming on a console is done through a PlayStation. Now, ever since the drop of the Steam Deck, which has been one of the greatest purchases I've ever made, I've actually become more of a PC gamer again now that I can play games on my Steam Deck on the go and then just like transfer the save file back and forth. But from time to time, occasionally a game will come out where I have to touch the PlayStation. And sometimes those games can be like Spider-Man 2, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, the Demon's Souls remake, Final Fantasy 15. There's not a lot of fucking games that are really exclusive for the PlayStation, okay? Usually if you find something on any of the consoles, it's pretty much also on PC. So realistically, that's kind of a good thing in my opinion. That means like, with no exclusives, anybody can play any game they want on any platform, and that's fine. But one of the things that I found so useless was this PlayStation 5 Pro console. Now, I think this is hands down one of the more underwhelming releases. Now, if you're looking at the price, that's not a typo, that's 959 Canadian dollars, okay? Now, of course, that's, I think, like 700 American, all right? But for Canada, when you want to buy this system, it's a grand minimum. Now, if you're looking carefully, you're like, whoa, Muda, there's no disk drive available for it. Meaning that if you're somebody that collects physical media, like me, or takes advantage of serious sales on physical media, like me, then you're pretty much reliant on the PlayStation Store in order to operate. Now, yes, I know, you can buy actual, like, disk drives. The problem with that, ladies and gentlemen, is the disk drives are currently out of sale, and they've been out of sale for a little bit, okay? So you pretty much have to go to eBay and hope to God. You know, Jim Bob's got a scalped copy over here. Like, yeah, drop $129 for this guy and also pay $42 in shipping. You want to ram it in my ass a little harder too? All right, you want to fuck me a little bit on that one? Jesus. But yeah, this is one of those things where obviously it's a pretty expensive console to be getting into, but I wanted to talk about it now that some of the reviews have been out. Now, obviously, if you've been following, the graphical enhancements on these games have started to come out. So around the release date for this, there's going to be like 50 plus something games that actually have PlayStation 5 Pro enhancements. So meaning that the developers have actually dug into the game and updated it with enhancements that take advantage of this actual system. So to remind the audience of what exactly the PlayStation 5 Pro has, it has something known as Spectral Super Resolution, which is like DLSS or like a hardware accelerated version of like upscaling. So you run the game at like 1440p, but it upscales it to 4K. And you know, unless you're somebody that like has their eyeballs glued to the screen, which you probably do if you want to discern any graphical difference between these games, then yeah, you'll get better performance. You'll get a 4K image at, you know, from a lower resolution. Now, of course, the further you go down, you've also got optimized console performance, so you can reach more higher and consistent frame rates, meaning that those 60 FPS modes just work better because of the sheer performance boosts of the actual GPU provided.
I was leveling.
And when it comes to advanced ray tracing, apparently the system does like 2 to 3 times better ray tracing than what we currently have. The current level of PlayStation ray tracing is so fucking minimal and bare bones that it might not even exist. There's literally only one game, to my knowledge, that actually makes a tangible difference in visual quality, and that would just be Spider-Man 2. Everything else literally uses the least amount of ray tracing, or maybe one feature that is genuinely tough to tell in normal gameplay. Add the cost of 30 frames. So instead of a 60 frame experience, you can have a slightly better looking experience at half the frame rate. Most people, statistically, will just pick the higher frame rate option because smoother gameplay is better than, you know, sluggish gameplay. So this is what's like apparently different in this situation, boys, okay? Yeah, the CPU is effectively the same, except for maybe like a 10% boost at certain times, from what I understand. The GPU is a 16.7 teraflop custom AMD Radeon GPU and 2 gigs of additional memory. Now, I've seen some PC gamers go, wow, dude, my computer has 82.5 teraflops. And then you look up the GPU and it's like an RTX 4090, which again, wow, look at the price tag on that motherfucker, $2,649. It's like the cheapest you can go, okay? So yeah, no shit, your actual graphics card that uses more power than the entire console you're comparing it to and costs over double the price is obviously going to be stronger, all right? Most people on PC games don't even have a 4090 to begin with, okay? So in that regard, all right, comparisons like this, I just wanted to call out as being incredibly brain dead. So anyways, to go back to the actual thing, I wanted to show you some comparison footage now that people have been reviewing it like Digital Foundry. And it's not exactly looking crazy. So one of the actual things released like a couple days ago by PlayStation was like the Spider-Man team showing the actual game. Now, I swear when I saw this video, I was trying to wonder, I'm like, wait a minute, what is this so fundamentally different in comparison to the game that I played literally like, several months ago on the actual PlayStation 5? And I'll be real, in motion, it doesn't actually look all that different, all right? And again, it's one of those things where if you have to like consistently point out what's different, then maybe it's just not that crazy of a change. So I
Yeah.
decided to go onto the internet and look for some key screenshots, and one of them posted by somebody who apparently had like a build earlier shows that yes, this is the PlayStation 5 version of Spider-Man with ray tracing enabled. And this is a 30 FPS mode, and you can see the ray tracing means that when something isn't in view, you can see a reflection of it on actual reflective surfaces. Without ray tracing, this would just be like a cube map or like a generic image that we would laugh at. You wouldn't even be able to see this reflection of Spider-Man that's casting rays like this. So you can see the back of the head, and again, the back of the head. So something that isn't visible, isn't forced onto this reflection through like screen space methods. This is true ray tracing, and in theory, like in actuality, it looks genuinely fun to play. This is why I say Spider-Man 2 is a good example, because, you know, ziplining through like Manhattan and the big glass like skyscrapers, that's where you can genuinely see a real visual difference. Now, comparing it to the PlayStation 5 Pro, this is an off-like camera screenshot because it's overly saturated.
I realized I might have
pointed the camera over to the actual screen and took a photo, and I don't know, maybe the actual system like denied video sharing rights just because the game wasn't, I don't know, technically out. But anyways, you can see visually the ray tracing. It might be marginally better, but yeah, it's nothing like mind-blowingly different. Now, I'm going to assume this is running at like 60 frames a second, which is the big thing, right? Like, obviously with a system like this, you want to be able to do some of these crazy graphical features at those high frame rates. So I started to look at other actual screenshots, and it kind of all like mirrors the same. This is Alan Wake 2, running on the original PlayStation 5 apparently, and you can see that the reflections don't really look crazy. If you look at the actual PS5 Pro, you can see the reflections are properly ray traced. You can see actually things in the background, the front of Alan Wake's face, other characters. It's actually pretty interesting. Now, if this performance drops down during play, which apparently it seems to, then is it really worth the actual cost to your frame rate just for these reflections? So then you start to look at things like Hogwarts Legacy, and apparently this is the game running at 60 frames with no real issues, and then allegedly here's the game running with that ray tracing, so you see like the reflection on the ground and whatnot. Yeah, this is running at like half the frame rate, okay? And of course, there's other things that are different too. Like if you compare between the shots, you can see things like shadows being a little different. That might just be things like time of day, but yeah, there are some other actual improvements beyond just the ray tracing, at least visually speaking. So then this is where like the real issue comes out. So Digital Foundry, the mad lads here, uploaded a goddamn 80-minute feature-length review of this console. And this is where like the real, like, I guess you could say, disappointing part came out to me. Now, what they decided to look at was things like CPU-bound games, which were games that are typically open world, where the CPU is the limiting deciding factor, right? It doesn't matter how much GPU power your system has. If you can't use your, CPU to actually process the game logic at 60 ticks a second, then you're never going to reach those 60 frames per second. So they show Baldur's Gate 3, which typically this is during Act 3 when you actually get to Baldur's Gate. You're looking at maybe like 2 frames on average higher than the actual basic PlayStation. And this is at the performance mode, by the way, too. So this is not something that I think is actually all that great. And the reason why it doesn't excite me going in further into it is because I don't actually think this is going to matter for really massive titles that people are probably ending up picking the system for, like Grand Theft Auto 6. So when you look at things like Elden Ring, it's even wilder too, because like with Elden Ring, the game is running at like PlayStation 5 quality mode over here. So this game doesn't have any patches. Just by the raw power of the system, they're getting all the way from 38 to 49. So in some cases, it doesn't even really hit that 60 frames per second, which I think is actually a shame. And now to give credit, Elden Ring is an incredibly unoptimized fucking garbage game in that regard. Seriously, if you fire it up on your PC right now, even with my system, like great CPU, top of the line GPU, I still actually have issues running that game and locking to like sometimes 60, maybe 120 frames per second. So yeah, this is not the perfect end-all be-all pro system, and I really feel like for the first time, at least me personally speaking, I have finally seen that graphics ceiling, right? Now, the Pro systems didn't just start at PlayStation 5. They did it with like PS4 Pro as well. And even then, it's like, look, unless you had like a 4K television, which people started to really get towards the time of its release, that's when I guess people started to notice, yes, things are slightly sharper. And by the time you got to the end with Cyberpunk 2077, it was probably the only last-gen system that would actually run the game at like 30 frames, as compared to like the base PlayStation 4, which might be one of the most embarrassing showcases of any system usage from any video game company out there. But now with the PlayStation 5 Pro, it's almost like they want to go for 8K, 120 FPS, which, you know, if you ever talk to somebody, like, have you ever met anybody that actually has an 8K television? Dude, I don't know anybody at all, even the most tech enthusiast people in my entire circle, that have bought an 8K television, let alone with 120 frames per second. So I don't really know what Sony's trying to go for. And again, with every single screenshot and video clip that I've seen, I honestly have not ever seen anything that is worth purchasing the system for. Everything that this game, everything that the system is showing is something that might be slightly sharper than whatever you're playing on PlayStation 5. Now, if this was a situation where, like, you know, the CPU got updated, where, like, you know, a lot of these games could actually go from 30 to 60 FPS, that would be genuinely awesome. Now, games like Grand Theft Auto 6 that I brought up, you know, if you look at certain screenshots like this is going to be insane. And this is one of the reasons why, you know, the PS5 Pro is a disappointment in this regard, because if you're going to expect a game like this to run at 60 FPS, it's just never gonna happen. The amount of NPCs on the screen, like if you look at this corner, this homeless guy is interacting with these three girls that are all sharing their logic together. If you're looking at the amount of traffic on the road itself, people crossing the traffic, you know, interacting with other characters in the environment, this is stuff that honestly, I don't even think the PlayStation 5 Pro is going to be touching at 30. Honestly, looking at this, I would actually be surprised if even the PlayStation like 5 base touches 30 frames consistently on this. It actually looks that genuinely impressive. So aside from that, there's a couple other boons to this as well too, where like if you look at actual like people discovering their systems, they found that there are some features where like they actually have like a game boost for like PlayStation 4 stuff. So immediately, the community that hungers for Bloodborne decided to actually run this feature. And mind you, this isn't a really experimental feature. Nobody even designed this for like games to begin with yet. So they threw it into like Bloodborne, and they found that sometimes, in certain cases, things can look sharper. So if you look at the sword real carefully, the textures look slightly sharper. Now, whether that's because the upscaler is just better in general, I don't think this is ever touching the actual game code logic or rendering pipeline in any way. So everything that I'm seeing over here doesn't necessarily shock or blow me away, but maybe it's nice. It's a nice boon to have. Unless these features start like turning these games into 60 frame experiences as Bloodborne should have been, as it could have patched to be, even on the base PlayStation 5, if Sony gave a fuck, then yeah, this might be one interesting thing to go down. But ultimately speaking, I think one of the only disappointing things for me really watching this is the fact that this really is probably the weakest update to any system that I've seen in a while. And you know what? Like, I give the PlayStation 4 the pass here, because like even back in the PS4's like release, at the point that they were releasing the PS4 Pro, you're talking about a system that already had some pretty awesome releases under its belt. You know, you got games like Bloodborne, you had literal like actual jaw-dropping releases like Horizon Zero Dawn when it came out, before the remastering of today's day and age, as if that fucking game needed a remaster. You had, again, brilliant FPS games like Killzone Shadowfall that still look beautiful to this day. You had tons of actual game titles like Red Dead Redemption 2 that actually did take a benefit visually from coming out on the PlayStation 4 Pro after its obvious like hardware release. But even with like the PS5 right now, it really feels like the games that we've gotten, at least in this generation, don't really utilize the PlayStation 5 to its abilities. Like if you look at a lot of these cross-platform games, like even Call of Duty Black Ops 6, dude, that game is still dropping on the base Xbox One and PlayStation 4. It really still feels like a lot of the games that come out, especially games like Yakuza Infinite Wealth, or, you know, recently there was this ReFantazio Metaphor, I think is the game. Yeah, that alone also comes out on PS4. So it's like a lot of these like PS5 games, when you look at like them also releasing on the 4, it's like, bro, we're literally still using a system that's like a PS4 Pro at this point. And so realistically, the games that are even exclusive to the PlayStation 5, they look really good, all right? Some of them use ray tracing pretty effectively. And then you look at the actual comparisons to the PS5 Pro, And it really is just like nothing that is jaw-dropping in general. I think for the price you're looking at over here, it might be a decent buy. But even with them removing that disc tray, it really shows that Sony is consistently trying to push the digital-only verse that I am not a fan of. I don't think anybody should be a fan of. And I think if it's any time that you should ever consider purchasing a PC or maybe gaming on that platform instead, it's probably now. PC gaming is about as easy as it's ever been. And given the fact that the prices here are starting to etch towards a PC gaming system anyways, like a mid-range gaming computer that even if you spend a little bit more money on, you get like way more usability out of it. Okay, you can make content on it, you can do actual work on it, things like program, you can do a million other things than just play video games or watch Netflix. So we're really getting to a point where like these systems are just not impressive. And honestly, it's like the fact that they are so underutilized in my opinion, from a gameplay perspective, where like the games that are dropping on it, even games like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, like bro, that you can't tell me that game is blowing anyone's minds away. It's something that looks like an expanded release that could have honestly dropped on the PlayStation 4 anyways. So yeah, even with like a lot of the games coming out, you're not looking at something innovative until and unless you wait for GTA 6 to drop like end of next year. But literally any of the games that are coming on now just feel like more enhanced releases that you would have found on the PlayStation 4 base Xbox Ones or Xbox One X's and just moved on from there. But yeah, the PlayStation 5 Pro's been a bit of a disappointment. It's one thing that I honestly expected was going to be a disappointment. I think if you're somebody that literally only cares about like resolutions and visuals, yeah, this might be a marketable boost for you. I think the system's probably a decent buy if you've got serious money to burn and you don't currently have a PlayStation 5 already. If you have a PlayStation 5 right now, I honestly cannot fathom anybody thinking of upgrading the system when the games themselves, you know, none of them warrant needing the upgrade to begin with anyways. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to talk about it because yeah, you know, I like gaming, you know, I like good graphics, but $1,000 for a marginal upgrade? I don't know about that one, dog.
Yeah, that
anyways,
doesn't seem like a good idea.
Please like, comment, and subscribe. Just like it or dislike it, I am out.
Storing it, I imagine.
Lightning is an incredible display of nature's power, and as a source of energy, it's both free and basically limitless. So you think that'd spell a recipe for renewable energy that is also, like, metal as heck. Except that the phrase, to catch lightning in a bottle, means to do something really difficult for a reason. And in the end, even if we could manage it, it might not even be worth doing. Despite how cool lightning is, at a basic level, it's not all that different from when you shock your fingers on a doorknob. Water droplets and ice particles in clouds knock each other around and throw off charged particles, creating static electricity that builds and builds, and suddenly, crack! There's your lightning strike. That discharge releases a huge amount of energy. A single lightning bolt can contain billions of joules. Billions. With a B. For reference, there's about 5,000 joules of energy in a AAA battery. A lightning-powered remote would basically never die. So, break out the tools and start building the lightning power stations, right? What are we waiting for? Well, actually, there's a problem. A few, actually. For one thing, you have to collect the lightning in the first place. So you'd have to put your power station somewhere that gets struck by lightning all the time. That'd be great in, say, stormy Central Florida, but somewhere like Los Angeles, where thunderstorms are slightly rarer than unicorns, well, you can see the issue. You'd also have to deal with variability of charge. Lightning strikes can be positive or negative, which means one can literally cancel out another. So you'd need a way to store both without giving them a chance to do that. And the whole power station would have to be able to, you know, not blow up when it gets hit by lightning. But maybe the most important problem has to do with the basic nature of lightning strikes. All that energy happens all at once. That means that either we have to immediately use up 1 billion joules, which we don't/can't, or we have to figure out how to store it. While this could mean a battery, it's a lot more likely to mean a capacitor. The difference lies in the ways these things store energy. A battery stores energy as chemical potential energy, basically through chemical reactions. Capacitors, on the other hand, hold on to energy in pure electrical form. At their most basic, capacitors are 2 pieces of conducting material called plates with an insulator in between. When a capacitor is charging, one plate is grabbing electrons and one plate is losing electrons. electrons, creating a charge difference between the two plates. When it's discharged, all the electrons flow from one plate to the other until things equal out in there, releasing all the stored energy. No chemical reaction necessary. In general, capacitors charge up way faster, so they're better for situations where you're getting electrical energy pumped in quickly, like getting hit by lightning. Plus, unlike batteries, capacitors can be recharged over and over again without losing any oomph, which is critical if you're collecting lightning
Things
strikes
still
over and over.
melt.
If you've ever owned a cell phone, you know a battery ain't gonna last that long. So there are a few challenges to building our lightning power station, but it's not like people haven't thought about ways to do it. One study in particular, published in 2022, actually lays out a way that some scientists believe it could be done. The overall layout of the plant would be pretty simple: a lightning rod connected to two capacitors. The hardest part of the whole thing is the capacitor itself. Designing something that can charge that much, that fast, isn't easy. The researchers' proposal calls for a capacitor that uses copper for the plates and mica for the insulating guts. Copper, because it would be most stable in this situation, and mica for its top-tier insulating ability. It would have to be one big capacitor, but theoretically, it could get the job done. But even if we could make that fancy lightning power station, it might not be worth it. Because lightning isn't energy in and of itself. It produces energy, and not as much as you'd think. Let me explain, and bear with me because there's gonna be some math. You can imagine a lightning bolt, a
Yay,
cloud,
math.
and the ground as making up an electrical circuit. When you're dealing with an electrical circuit, you need to keep track of three main things. You have current, which you can think of as the rate of electron flow. You have voltage, which you can think of as the driving force pushing
Oh,
electrons
man.
through a circuit. And you have power, which is how fast a system will use energy in the form of electricity. Each lightning bolt has a current of about 100 kiloamps and a voltage of around 10 megavolts. And luckily for us, there's a cool formula we can use here to get the one thing we're missing: power. It comes from a famous law known as Ohm's law, and it's, if you'll pardon my pun, shockingly easy. Power equals voltage times current. Simple. Plug in the values, and each lightning bolt nets us about 1,000 gigawatts of power. But we still have to get to usable energy, which is power times time. And here is where it starts to fall apart. Each lightning bolt only lasts about 30 microseconds, so all that power only nets you about 30 watt seconds of energy. Convert those units, and you get about 8 kilowatt hours of energy per lightning strike. And here's the kicker. On average, one household uses about 30 kilowatt hours of energy per day. We'd need around 3 lightning strikes per day to power a single home. And the most lightning-y place on Earth, which is Lake Maracaibo in Venezuela, has less than 1 strike per square kilometer per day. As cool as lightning power sounds, it turns out to be a whole lot more trouble than it's worth. Things like solar, wind,
it does
and
get a lot of
geothermal,
strikes, though.
Now, those are some viable, sustainable strategies. Maybe a little less flashy, but they'll do us a whole lot more good moving towards a greener future.
Look up that lake, Lake Maracaibo. They have like daily lightning storms. It is not safe. So much yawn, so much tired. Cute is what that is.
Hey, you know what nobody has ever said? I want less Zilla. There's too much Zilla around here. the Mozilla Foundation, the parent organization of the Mozilla company, purveyors of the world's 5th most popular web browser, is eliminating its global programs and advocacy divisions. That advocacy was centered on fighting for a free and open internet, something that hasn't really gotten less important recently. While the foundation says that this is a fight that remains core to their mission, they are revisiting how they pursue that work. This restructuring comes with layoffs for 30% of Mozilla's roughly 120 employees. That's a lot, which is actually the second round of layoffs this year, following 60 job losses on the company side in February. All in all, it's a significant loss in capacity, and there isn't an obvious successor to take up the advocacy slack. Chrome's too busy waging a war against adblock extensions, and Edge acknowledges neither the law of God nor man. Edge just gonna edge. Not all hope is lost, however, as the Internet Archive is once again archiving web pages following a month-long hiatus due to a cyber attack. Users will once again be able to capture important but ephemeral web pages using the archive's Save Page Now feature. The Internet Archive also says that the backlog of pages requested by users while the archive was down are now being processed. It's not entirely clear why the Internet Archive has become such a target for hackers, given that it's not affiliated with any government and it doesn't have a lot of spare cash. This is like getting mad at the global world order, so you set fire to a community center.
Lawn bowling had it coming.
Reviews are in for AMD's Ryzen 7 9800X3D, and so far, it sounds like Dr. Lisa Su has a chart-topping new single on her hands.
Rising up.
The 9800X3D blows Intel's new top-of-the-line chips out of the water, and by new top-of-the-line chips, I mean the one from last gen. Ba-doom, all right. Pretty much every review is singing this chip's praises, but Hardware Unboxed saw it get up to 26.5% better than the Core i9 14900K and 33% better than the Core Ultra 9 285K. See how that works? It's not just gaming though, there are also some pretty significant productivity improvements. You're gonna be able to run so many instances of Bonsai Buddy. Of course, the big change that has allowed for this show-stopping performance is the addition of that 3D V-cache. Even more so than AMD's first-gen 3D V-cache, which was placed on top of the die, causing potential cooling issues. Now, the cache is under the processor, meaning you can even overclock this thing, which they already said. If that's not enough, you might be interested to know that Zhang Hao, a reliable source of hardware leaks, says that their supply chain contacts confirm that AMD is working on an X3D version of a Zen 5 Threadripper. Further, the next generation Strix Halo APUs will likely see 3D V-cache upgrade as well on the more high-end AMD laptops. Honestly, this would be a completely happy story if it wasn't for Pat Gelsinger standing at the back of this room, manfully refusing to cry.
And womanfully and childrenfully.
Any fully you want. Jarvis, Google's rumored AI agent that can use your computer for you, has been officially confirmed thanks to reliable leaker Google, who accidentally published an internal preview on the Chrome web browser extension store. It's been taken down, but you didn't miss out on much. The current build doesn't have the right access permissions yet, so users who downloaded it weren't able to get it to work. Google planned to publicly reveal Jarvis in December alongside its next big LLM release, but you know how it is. It's only the first week of November, but you're already hearing Mariah Carey. Jarvis, whose name is almost certainly inspired by Tony Stark's AI butler, is intended to be a helpful online assistant that can collect information, do your shopping, or book travel tickets. That being said, if you've ever had an Instacart shopper replace your cremini mushrooms with a big bag of jumbo marshmallows, you can probably guess that these kinds of simple tasks can turn out to be quite a bit more complex in practice. It's also notable that literally every big company with skin in the AI game is doing the exact same thing right now. Anthropic, AI agent. OpenAI, AI agent. Microsoft, first-party spyware that takes a picture every 3 seconds for your own good. But it's cool this time. You know why they're called quick bits, right? It's because they contain baking soda as a leavening agent instead of yeast. This is a joke about quick breads, like banana breads. I promise this is funny to people who cook. Thank you, Jessica. It helps me if I imagine a cooking person on the other end of the screen going, what? I'm Upgrading your MacBook's SSD is possible once again thanks to repair YouTuber iBoff who created a custom PCB add-on and swappable SSD modules to replace soldered-on storage in MacBooks with M-series processors. The module design isn't completely finalized yet, and once installed, you need a second Mac to run Apple Configurator to complete the setup. But that might not be a problem for Apple fans, especially any who might have just bought a second Mac Mini when they discovered doing that costs the same as upgrading the RAM and storage. But come on, Apple's gotta pay their engineers to do their job worse than some random guy on YouTube. Meta says they have found a way to keep teens from lying about their age on Instagram. It's an AI-powered tool the company calls an adult classifier, which sounds less like a tool for finding teens and more like a BuzzFeed quiz.
Which Stanley Cup represents you?
Instagram introduced teen accounts in September, which have stronger default privacy settings. The adult classifier will apparently sort users into one of two groups, older or younger than 18, based on those users' own account data, like their profile and what content they interact with. Unfortunately, after being exposed to thousands of 30-year-old Transformers enthusiasts, the classifier exploded.
You're welcome.
Steam's game recording feature is now out of beta, meaning it's available to all Sigmas, like me. The feature allows users to record gameplay without leaving the app. Even non-Steam games can be recorded as long as they allow Steam Overlay to run. And more good news, the Steam Deck will finally be available in Australia on November 19th. Finally. Young, impressionable Australians won't be participating in shady back alley deals where they purchase smuggled Steam Decks with their hard-earned dimmies and chicken salt. Now they can send their dimmies and chicken salt to me instead, please.
Gotta send them some soy sauce.
It's been ages since I had some dimmies.
Got the rumblies.
A YouTuber made an e-bike battery using 130 used disposable vapes to make a point about e-waste. Chris Dole took the individual batteries out of the vapes and converted them into a 48-volt, 1500-watt battery that powered an e-bike for more than 20 miles with almost no pedaling. Of course, it wasn't that easy to get his hands on 130 discarded vapes. He had to collect them at places like a music festival. Just a single music festival had hundreds of littered batteries that could explode if damaged. Was getting rid of cigarettes a bad idea? We're saving the kids' lungs, but at what cost?
Are we?
And the FTC has sued Dave. Sorry, not the guy in your fantasy football league, although that son of a bitch has it coming. Dave, the banking app specializing in cash advances. The FTC says Dave misled customers, charged hidden fees, and made canceling memberships unreasonably difficult. In an official response, Dave said the lawsuit was regulatory overreach, possibly in between swigs of Pabst Blue Ribbon.
If you let it get warm, it tastes like this.
This is stupid, man. Dave thinks the government should leave him and his friends alone, including banking apps with normal guy names, and these are real: Marcus, Frank, Finn, and Mr. Cooper. You leave Coop alone! You leave Coop out of this! I'm picturing these as kids in like an 80s adventure movie, and Mr. Cooper is like the older role model for the little gaggle of young...
Guys, we gotta get Coop out of jail!
So close. Now how about you be a role model for the rest of the audience and come back on Friday for more tech news? Sure, we're just using the tech news as an excuse to write silly things that make us giggle, but you can't argue the news isn't in there. This is a business.
Okay. His claws are leveled up again. I did 22% of the damage. That's wrong. I shouldn't be doing that. What a nap. I think this is leveled up all the way now. No, it's not. One more, and I'll have enough for a 9. Could put that on. I could put magnetic strike.
What is hesitance? The secrets to happiness are a combination of heightened dopamine levels and terrible. You're welcome.
I'm fine with that. Nope. Element. Dante. This can change. Sure.
I have to admit I was surprised by Call of Duty Black Ops 6 because I didn't know there'd been a Black Ops 5. I remember Black Ops 4, I remember it expected us to pay full price for a game with no story campaign, and then I remember a sort of red mist coming down, and then I woke up in a Portaloo wearing a length of human intestine as a sock. Hang on, Yards, didn't you pledge to stop doing Call of Duty after the Modern Warfare remake, and didn't you skip laughing from the room as if the burdens of a generation had been lifted from your very soul? Well, A, while Modern Warfare games still reflect the washed-out masturbation fantasies of neocon armchair generals, the Black Ops campaigns have historically been more inclined to let the freak flag fly in interesting ways, and B, Black Ops 6 is set in the 90s, an era I actually remember from before the current age of shit, so I was hoping it'd add a pleasant nostalgic vibe and half-decent pop soundtrack to all the extra-legal foreigner torturing. And having played through the story, I gotta say, there's something weirdly off-brand about Black Ops 6. Yes, you do get to extra-legally torture a foreigner just once as a treat, and there's plenty of over-the-top shouty shootouts against clearly much poorer equipped enemies, but there's always a slightly apologetic air to it. I swear all I had to do was spray bullets vaguely in the direction of the dudes, and their heads popped with little festive bursts of red smoke to amuse the children. Also, the overarching story is about as low effort as this shit gets. We play as CIA operatives who discover a plot to take over the world by an evil, sing along if you know the words, private military corporation, who of course have mysteriously limitless funding and manpower and operate like fucking James Bond villains, and of course they've stolen a bioweapon that they are of course planning to drop on civilian targets, and of course they're being controlled by a secret mole within the CIA. Ooh, can I take a guess, Black Ops 6? Which of the only two established CIA higher-up characters could it be? The one that your allies keep suggesting might be the traitor, who was a bit of an asshole in his opening angry police chief, you're a loose cannon Black Ops hand over your badge and gun scene? Or is it the one who's ostensibly on our side and been nothing but smiles and peach cobbler but has to stay at HQ for unclear reasons and takes a weirdly large amount of personal time off? No, I didn't drop a spoiler warning because I respect your fucking intelligence. But overarching story straight from the make-your-own Call of Duty plot paint-by-numbers kit aside, the odd thing about the campaign is I swear every mission came from a different fucking game. It starts with a standard Call of Duty committing war crimes in the Middle East adventure, but then switches to a stealthy assassination mission, not unheard of in the Spunk Gargle Wee Wee realms, but next we left turn into a sort of hitman area where we infiltrate a political event trying to isolate a single target through a choice of mini-objectives where there's a nice Bill Clinton cameo, but sadly no opportunity to shoot him in the bell end and change the entire course of modern history. Then the game turns flat-out open world on us for a single chapter, not in a hugely elaborate way, more like a Helldivers 2 mission, 2 square miles of desert, 3 objectives to blow up, 10 or 11 bonus activities and 1 slightly bored Yahtzee Crowshaw. Because it's all rather one note, the enemy presence gradually ramps up, but none of it makes it that much harder to creep in from an unexpected angle, glue a C4 to the target like a traffic cop dropping a parking ticket, and then creep back out again. Then the developers either got really bored or ran out of Ritalin-flavoured Rice Krispies, because next is a fucking sci-fi survival horror level, set in a disused research facility where we get a face full of scarecrow fear toxin and have to locate 4 key cards while fighting off undead horrors and mannequin monsters. We return to the real world just in time for an Ocean's 11-style casino heist and another wild spin on the wheel of emotional tones. The whole game culminates in the main villain having to go through a surreal nightmare world based on their subconscious mind, solving Silent Hill puzzles and fighting evil clones of themselves. Altogether, it feels like a game made by developers who would rather have been making literally anything but a Call of Duty game, and I guess that makes us of a like mind, because I didn't want to play one either. Oh, Yahtzee, are you starting to encroach upon a recommendation for Black Ops 6? Dare we dream? No, it's fucking moronic. The variety smorgasbord approach to game design means every individual element is throwaway and teaspoon shallow. The research facility level introduces this whole plot point where the main character is secretly a bioengineered super soldier or something, which had never come up before and doesn't really go anywhere. Also, you get a grappling hook for this level, which I'd normally appreciate, but it's only for this level and never again, and I find that offensive, frankly. It's like taking an animal conservationist to a circus to watch the dancing bear. The character focused on during the weird Psychonaut's mental journey level is one who's had all of about 10 minutes of screen time up to then, so we have to cram a tragic backstory, vision quest, and redemption arc into about half an hour of gameplay. Then, at the very end, we learn that the stock bad guys have planted the stock super weapon in the stock Capitol building, so I'm thinking, okay, gunfight in well-known location at the heart of American national identity. Guess bookending things with standard Call of Duty operating procedure is a good way to wrap things up. And the game goes, yes, I suppose it would have been. Anyway, the end. The bomb got defused off screen. Good job. Have you tried zombie mode? Actually, that's not quite the end. We have to have one last scene with asshole superior you're a loose cannon police chief dude. So he can go, I'm sorry, Black Ops, you were right all along. Thank you for saving the world from the evil rogue unaccountable branch of the CIA. Now, please form your own rogue unaccountable branch of the CIA and pinky promise not to turn evil this time. I'd have called it completely lacking in self-awareness, but the chapter with Bill Clinton ends with the main characters escaping from a police siege on a pair of American flag decorated motorbikes that just happen to be there, fully gassed up and under a fucking spotlight. And that doesn't feel like something an unself-aware developer would do. Who did develop this game anyway? Treyarch, Yahtzee. Alright, well, and Infinity Ward, yeah, and Raven Software, Sledgehammer Games, Demonware, High Moon Studios, and Activision Shanghai. Well, that rather sheds light. And Beanox.
Prepare for sentient
Well, that rather sheds light on the situation here. Clearly all 47 development teams worked on a different part of the game and weren't allowed to talk to each other. You know, I'm not too proud to admit I enjoyed bits of the Black Ops 6 campaign. I assume that was the point, to cater to as many disparate tastes as possible, but I'd have respected it more if it had picked a lane. I worry about your self-esteem, Call of Duty. You should try to be the best damn Call of Duty you can be, not a little bit of Hitman, Splinter Cell, Psychonauts, Payday 2, Control, and Helldivers. What are you, a fucking PlayStation demo disc?
Oh, there's some guys here. Oh, Misery's here. Oh, he's dead already. Oops. Whale. I would have thought I'd been able to add another modifier to my dogs.
From respected art house auteur Todd Phillips
I'm here for the gangbang.
comes a movie about how a beloved pop culture figure is actually pathetic and all of his fans are losers.
I can't be who you want me to be.
And also virgins. Don't forget virgins.
Can you do it?
Joker. I'm not reading that, Merrick. Joker 2. In 2019, audiences were shocked when the director who coasted by on Ken Jeong's improv skills made a $1 billion movie that took top prize at Venice and won its star an Oscar. Now, Todd returns with a statement about how everyone is wrong to like it.
There is no Joker.
Honestly, you discussed him. Going to a Joker movie expecting to see the Joker? Swine. After Arthur acted on the thought every guest on Fallon has. He's learned there's nothing funny about prison, especially when the guards give you the full Shawshank experience. But when he finally connects with his alter ego of a Southern lawyer,
Tell me, sir, is that your God-given name?
you'll suffer through a court drama just as boring as the prison drama you just sat through. It's like 0 interesting movies for the price of 1. Ugh, this is dire. I guess it could have been worse, though.
Macavity, Macavity, there's no one like Macavity.
Wipe any remaining smiles off your face, because for some reason, it's also a musical.
Take my hand, stay here, my friend.
Kinda.
I got the world on a string, sitting on a rainbow.
Watch as one pro singer
That's the dream of romance.
and an actor who sang once in 2005, then smoked 10,000 cigarettes.
For once in my life, I got someone
croak out your great-grandpa's Spotify Wrapped from 1960.
I'll talk to your eyes that I love so much.
In the most exhausting musical since Russell Crowe barked his way through Les Mis.
Follow to the letter your itinerary. This badge of shame you'll show it till you die.
Oh, I just realized where Todd Phillips stole this whole idea from. Cop Rock.
We had a 187 at the 7-Eleven on the corner of 4th and Main. Two Caucasians of the male persuasion put a bullet through the cashier's brain.
Alright.
You know, I never
Claws
thought I'd
are
say this
available.
about
Okay,
anything, but
Torment's
Cop
here
Rock
again.
is a much better musical.
I'm the baby merchant. Tots are us.
Don't
did.
forget about Harley Quinn, even though the movie kinda does. Here, she's just Lee, a fellow prisoner who's desperate for a Manson family of her own.
He's not sick. He's perfect.
They fall in love, but when Arthur learns her entire backstory is a lie,
Did you lie to me?
Sure.
nothing happens. Because when you're an incel clown on death row, you'll take what you can get, even though she's got more scary red flags than an Albanian consulate.
I set fire to my parents' apartment building. I just wanted you to like me. Do you know I moved into your old apartment building to make us a home for when you get out?
I don't want to live there.
I'm pregnant.
New phone, who dis? So strap in
New
for a
phone,
movie
who
made
dis?
for no one, especially not Batman fans. That's kinda set in Gotham,
In the matter of the people of the state of New York versus Arthur Fleck.
kinda ties to Batman Year One,
Okay. Oh, that way.
kinda sets up Two-Face, and definitely has nothing to do with the actual Joker. The one we spent 2 entire movies watching is confirmed not to even be the guy. Haha, you got me, Todd. About $40 in 5 hours for these 2 movies that weren't even about the Joker. Good one, Todd. Hilarious joke, Todd. We're all having such a great time because we learned so much, Todd. Starring Schmo is Afraid, Dear Slim, Won't You Play My Neighbor, Hardly Dent, Dark Brendan, The 40-Year-Old Virgin, Sawyer, The Trip to Arkham. The only thing that ruled in this movie, smoking.
Can I have a cigarette?
I don't think you should smoke. I think it makes you look cavalier.
Okay. Can I have a cigarette?
And not starring these shots from the trailers. Hey look, literal sleight of hand. Arthur 2, Joke's on You. Wait, so someone does get killed with a hammer in this, but Harley Quinn doesn't do it? I feel like you're not even trying, man. Spooky season is over. It's time to overeat and be under merry. You fools, you've messed with the natural order. Wakey, 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 wakey.
Yeah, I
It's
think the dog
time
leveled up
to
doing that.
wakey.
Yes. Claws did level. I think he's built fine now. Critical chance from primary weapon. Yeah, he should be fine. He does plenty of damage. Still need drink.
Excellent compliments, operator. Please return covered in blood. Safe and sound.
And that last mission, like, I don't remember him anything taking him down while I was AFK the whole time. So Yeah. I think he was fine. This is level 200. Excuse me. It's coming up on 3.5 hours. The YouTube stream is not there because I was playing music. But that's fine. So I'm gonna probably lay down, take a nap or something. I'm sleep deprived. Past week I've been getting up early a lot. And today I woke up like in the middle of everything because I was not well in my stomach. So yeah, I'm gonna go rest and stuff. So peace, take care, stay safe, have a good one.